Grandma reveals traumatic truth about the family abuse that shattered our legacy. Emily stepped into her grandmother's house, the familiar scent of lavender and old books wrapping around her like a warm blanket. The beams of the sun flickered through dust motes, bathing everything in a golden hue. It was mesmerizing, but the beauty felt like a mask for the unease creeping in. Memories of summer spent here filled her mind, sticky fingers from homemade jam. The thrill of chasing fireflies, but beneath that sweet veil, darker currents surged. Today was different. She had come to reconcile with her mother, Sarah, but the air was thick with a tension she couldn't ignore. Whispers of family secrets danced in the corners of the room, mocking her resolve. Emily had heard murmurs of their painful past, of unspeakable things hidden within the walls of this charming, yet suffocating home. Just as she prepared herself for the inevitable confrontation, her grandmother appeared. The lines on her face etched stories of heartache and resilience. "Emily," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something you need to know, something about your mother." The words hung in the air like smoke, twisting and clawing at Emily's heart. "Is it bad?" she managed to ask, feeling a lump rise in her throat. Grandma nodded, the severity of her gaze sending chills down Emily's spine. "It's about the abuse. It shapes everything." The word echoed, wrapping Emily in a frigid grip. Memories of her mother's anger, the silence that followed, surged back like a tidal wave. "And you held this from me?" she questioned, shaky hands clenching the fabric of her jeans. The walls seemed to close in, the quaintness of the house turning suffocating. "I had to protect you," Grandma replied, pain written across her features. "You needed a childhood, but now you deserve the truth." The weight of her words settled like lead in Emily's chest, dragging her deeper into a spiral of confusion and fear. Outside, the golden sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the living room. In that moment, Emily felt the flicker of a long-held resentment surface. How could her mother be both a victim and a ghost haunting her life? Her heart raced as she contemplated confronting Sarah, who had built walls as high as the sky to hide her wounds. The door creaked open, and Emily's breath caught. An unexpected figure stepped through. Sarah, her eyes wide with apprehension. "What are you two talking about?" she asked, voice firm but laced with vulnerability. Every word sliced through the air, thick with unspoken accusations and buried sorrows. Emily's mind raced. Could this moment be the reckoning she had desperately needed? The reconciliation that flickered just out of reach? But as her heart pounded in her ears, an unsettling question loomed. Would the painful truths bring them closer or tear them apart forever? Hey, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Emily's heart raced as she faced Sarah. The room felt too small, the walls closing in, edged with the weight of years of unspoken truths. She opened her mouth, ready to finally confront her mother, to put her pain into words. But before she could speak, something shattered the moment. An unexpected crash echoed from the kitchen, the sound sharp and disorienting. "Mom?" Emily's voice trembled with confusion. Her eyes darted toward the doorway, dread pooling in her stomach. A thick silence blanketed the room, making every breath feel heavy. "Stay here," Sarah said, her voice a low murmur, but her tone sharp as glass. With an abrupt turn, she bolted toward the kitchen, leaving Emily behind, heart pounding against her ribs. Emily followed, not knowing if she should be scared or furious. She stepped into the kitchen, and what she saw froze her in place. A shattered plate lay in pieces on the floor, but it wasn't that caught her breath. It was a figure in the shadows, someone leaning against the counter, one booted foot tapping lazily. "Surprised to see me, aren't you?" The voice dripped with sarcasm, but the face was familiar. A face she hadn't seen in years. "Jake?" The name slipped from her lips like a secret. Her cousin, the one who had vanished after the family crisis years ago. She felt the floor shift beneath her, memories clawing their way back. Hushed talks, stolen glances, long-held secrets. "What are you doing here?" Sarah's voice trembled. She looked like a lighthouse in a storm, trying to stand tall, but swaying under the weight of this. "Outsider. I came for the truth," Jake said, stepping into the light, his expression a mix of defiance and something deeper. Emily felt anger mix with confusion, resentment bubbling to the surface. "What truth?" Emily demanded. "What could you possibly know?" "More than you think." Jake's eyes locked onto hers. "There's a reason Sarah never talked about the past. A reason you've always felt like you didn't belong." He gestured toward the living room, where Grandma stood, seemingly frozen in shock. "You don't even know who you're dealing with." With that, Jake pulled something from his pocket, an old, faded photograph, and slapped it onto the counter. Emily stepped closer, a sickening knot twisting in her gut. It was a photo of Sarah as a child. But next to her stood another girl. Same dark hair, similar features, but something else, something darker about her eyes. "Who is this?" Emily whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "No one that you know." Jake paused, letting the silence suffocate them. "But you're about to." Then, as if the universe was conspiring to kick the emotional wreckage into hyperdrive, the kitchen lights flickered and buzzed. The walls pulsed with tension, echoing her heartbeats. "Emily!" Grandma's shrill voice echoed, breaking the trance. "You need to leave this place now." "Why?" Emily shot back, anger blooming. "Why do you keep lying?" Because suddenly, everything felt like a lie. A web of secrets tangled around her. What did Grandma know? And why was Jake here, now, of all times? Before anyone could answer, there came a loud bang from the back door, rattling the house like thunder. The front door creaked open, and a gust of wind rushed in, throwing papers into the air. A figure, cloaked in shadows, stepped over the threshold and into the light. Did someone call for the truth? The voice sent chills down Emily's spine. It was smooth, almost too smooth, like ice skimming over steel. Everyone turned, frozen in shock. Well, the figure said, a smirk forming under the hood. "Looks like the family reunion just got interesting." Was this the truth she needed? Or the start of a nightmare? The air weighed heavy with questions and uncertainty. But Emily knew one thing. Whatever lay ahead would change everything. Forever. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that brought back a flood of memories. It was like a punch to the gut. Tall, with dark hair, and a smirk that seemed familiar, yet twisted. Emily's heart raced as she blinked, unwilling to accept what stood in front of her. "Who are you?" Sarah's voice cracked. Fear flickered across her face. A look Emily hadn't seen since they buried her father. Don't you recognize me, Sarah? The stranger mocked, tilting his head. It's been a while, hasn't it? A chill coursed through the room. Emily glanced at Jake, who looked as shocked as she felt. Daniel? She whispered, piecing together fragments of half-remembered stories. Her mother's brother, the one everyone said had gone mad. The family never spoke of him, a ghost haunting their history. Daniel's eyes glinted maliciously. Yes, the prodigal son returns, but I'm not here for a welcome home party. The tension thickened like fog. Grandma's face went ashen, her hands trembling. Emily sensed a shift in the air, a dark undercurrent. You shouldn't be here, Grandma warned. Stepping forward, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Oh, but you know this secret can't stay buried forever. Daniel leaned against the counter, casual, like he held all the cards. You think you know the truth? You have no idea. Emily's breath quickened. What truth? He grinned, a chilling sight. The truth about Mom, about all of you. Shut up, Sarah shouted, but her voice lacked strength. It was a shout from desperation, not conviction. I'll let you in on a little secret, Daniel continued, his voice low, hypnotic. Emily, you think you're so special, carrying the weight of family secrets, but you're just a pawn in the game. What do you mean? She pressed, heart flipping, anxiety clawing at her insides. Your mother didn't just run away from the past. She took something from me, something you need to understand. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a worn ring, smooth, gold, glinting ominously. He tossed it onto the counter. The family heirloom, or as I prefer to call it, the key. Emily's hands grew cold as her eyes locked onto the ring. The key to what? The room fell silent, the only sound the quiet hum of the refrigerator, as if the world held its breath. Daniel's smile faded, replaced by something darker. The key to your mother's lies. She has a piece of my past that will unravel everything. She's kept it hidden, saying it was for your protection, but it was to protect herself. No! Sarah stepped back, her expression crumbling. Oh, yes, you all believed in the fairy tale, but what if I told you it was all a cover? A cover for the darkness that lives in our blood. He leaned closer, seizing their attention. The violence. The hidden madness runs deeper than any of you can imagine. Emily felt her knees weaken, confusion crashing over her like a wave. What does that even mean? Before Daniel could respond, the lights flickered violently, causing him to stumble back. The room plunged into darkness, a collective gasp echoing. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the lights flickered back on, and Emily felt the fear in the air shift. The ring, glowing faintly on the counter, seemed to pulse like a heart. Daniel. Sarah's voice quivered now. Panic gripped her. Get out! He laughed, the sound echoing like thunder. This family is in more danger than you know, and it's about to get a lot worse. With that, a crash emanated from the back of the house, sharp like a knife cutting through the fragile tension. All eyes turned. Emily's heart raced as she heard a child's voice, a laugh so innocent, yet echoing with distortion. It bounced off the walls, filling the space with dread. And then, footsteps. Did I hear someone call for the truth? The voice was sweet, but edged with something sinister. Emily's stomach dropped. Who was that? The walls felt like they were closing in, secrets spiraling out of control. Mom, she whispered, fear twisting in her gut. But as the unknown figure emerged, she realized the one person she thought she could trust might be the source of it all. Everything she held dear began to unravel. The taste of betrayal clung to her tongue. The room buzzed with confusion as shadows danced. Unveiling horrors Emily was not prepared to face. What lay ahead felt like an abyss, a dark well of secrets waiting to engulf her. Could this really be the truth, she thought, or the beginning of my worst nightmare? Emily felt the air thicken with tension as the voice echoed through the kitchen. She couldn't comprehend who this new figure was, or why everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. A child's laugh, light yet twisted, froze the blood in her veins. "Mom," she whispered again, her heart racing. Sarah's face drained of color as she stepped backward, colliding against the counter. Fear flickered across her features, vulnerability cracking the facade she wore. "You shouldn't be here, not now," she pleaded, glancing at Emily, desperate. But the figure remained cloaked, but not for long. Slowly they stepped into the light, and her breath caught. It was a girl, not much older than Emily, but there was something familiar about her. The same dark hair, the same piercing eyes. Emily's stomach dropped. "Is that Rebecca?" Jake whispered next to her, his voice trembling. "Your sister." Emily felt like she had been kicked in the gut. "What? That's impossible!" Sarah shouted, nearly choking on the word as it left her lips. She's gone." "But I'm not," Rebecca laughed, a sound that twisted into something sinister. "Did you really think you could bury the truth? You can't kill me, Mom. I'm too much a part of you." The room erupted in gasps, each sound thrumming with disbelief. Grandma staggered backward, her hands clasped over her mouth. "You were supposed to be—" Silence swallowed her words as that twisted laugh echoed again. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. She staggered back, mind racing through fragments, clues she brushed aside in innocence. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" Emily shouted, anger bubbling. "You can't just waltz back in here." Rebecca's eyes glinted, sparkling with mischief and malice. "Oh, I know all the secrets. I've been waiting for the perfect moment to come home." "You don't belong here," Sarah gasped, desperation flooding her voice. But Rebecca took a step forward, each movement deliberate, invading their space like a dark storm. "Oh, but I do. Everything you've kept hidden, I'm ready to unveil." "Stop!" Emily's voice cracked, truth clawing at her throat. "What are you talking about?" "I'm the piece you didn't know was missing," Rebecca grinned, teeth shining wickedly. "The part of the story they swept under the rug. I'm the reason your family fell apart." "Shut up!" Sarah screamed. But it was a shout of fear, not authority. "Think back to that night, Mom. You remember, don't you?" Rebecca leaned in closer, the air thickening with dread. The fight, the chaos. "You couldn't save me, could you?" Emily could feel reality shifting, teetering on the edge of a nightmare. What night? Suddenly, a crash erupted from the side entrance, causing the entire room to jump. A figure burst through, someone larger, framed by shadows. The chaos froze for a heartbeat before they stepped into the light. Daniel, a sly grin plastered across his face. "Well, aren't we just a family reunion?" he chuckled, his voice slicing through the tension like a knife. At that moment, everything went monochrome, the colors draining, leaving just the sound of Emily's harsh breaths. "Daniel?" Jake breathed, confusion and disbelief swirling. "Yes, darling. You thought you could hide her away forever, but she's here now. Isn't it lovely?" Daniel's eyes darted toward Rebecca, a gleam of something sinister dancing there. "I came for the truth," Rebecca said, her voice silken. "And I'm ready to share, if you're ready to listen." "Stop!" Emily shouted, panic rising. "Just stop!" But before she could register the chaos, Daniel pulled a baseball bat from behind the door. Time for some family honesty then. Or maybe just a little chaos. The tension shattered as he swung the bat toward the lights, plunging them into darkness again. The shattering glass echoed like gunfire, raw panic igniting in the air. Then a scream, a familiar, shrill cry that left Emily's heart racing in her chest. "Mom!" she yelled, dread washing over her. But as she strained against the looming shadows, a piercing laugh broke through the silence, sending chills racing down her spine. "Get ready for the truth." Rebecca whispered, voice weaving around her. "You're not nearly as safe as you think." Caught in a web of shadows, Emily felt herself slipping. As chaos reigned, she wondered, had the truth been there all along? Or was this just the beginning of a nightmare she couldn't escape? Emily felt the weight of silence crashing over her like a tidal wave. Everything around her pulsed with tension. The shattered glass crunched underfoot, each shard reflecting the chaos swirling in her mind. Rebecca stood there, looming like a specter, her laughter echoing ominously, cutting through the thick air. "Get ready for the truth," she said, her voice dripping with a mix of malice and playful mischief. Emily wanted to scream, to run away, but her body felt frozen. Rebecca's presence twisted the world around her into something unrecognizable. "Mom!" Emily shouted again, but it felt futile, drowned out by the rising panic. She glanced at Sarah, whose face was a mask of horror, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Get out!" Sarah choked out, desperation thick in her tone. "Rebecca, please!" But Rebecca stepped closer, her shadow cloaking the room. "You think you're the hero in this story, don't you?" Like you're untouched by the darkness, a smirk spread across her face, sharp enough to cut. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, then dimmed again. The room felt alive, the air crackling with electric fear. Emily's heart raced as Daniel took a step forward, brandishing the bat, ready to swing but stopped by unseen threads of fate. And then, out of the shadows, a figure emerged. A tall silhouette, so familiar and yet so wrong. Emily squinted, dizzy with confusion. "Dad?" The words slipped from her lips, and the room went silent. Everyone turned, their eyes widening in disbelief. "Surprise," he smirked, stepping into the light, and suddenly everything shattered. "I guess you all thought I was dead." The weight of the world crashed into Emily's chest. Her father, the lost man of their family, the ghost haunting their past, was alive? It was impossible, a betrayal too cruel to fathom. "Daniel," Sarah breathed, barely audible. "How?" "What a reunion this is," he laughed, eyes sparkling with a dangerous glee. "Didn't you miss me?" "Enough!" Sarah's voice was a low growl now, trembling with rage. "You were supposed to be gone. I tried to protect Emily from you." But Emily felt a thrill rush through her veins. The anger and betrayal twisted into something sharper. Why didn't you tell me?" She stepped back, her knees weak, searching for answers in his face. "All these years?" "Because, my dear," Dad said, his voice soothing yet ominous, "the truth is, I was never the monster you thought I was. That was just another story you were told, to keep you in line." "Oh, please," Rebecca interjected, rolling her eyes. "You think you're the real deal, but you're just another petty villain in this fairy tale." Emily could barely keep up. She felt her reality slip through her fingers like sand. "What are you talking about?" Just then a loud crash echoed from behind, a door swinging open in the back. The space transformed into a dizzying whirl of sound, and in it appeared a woman, radiant and commanding. Her presence filled the room, absorbing the madness like a black hole. "Enough!" she thundered. "You think you know the truth? You know nothing." Daniel's eyes widened, panic flickering across his face. "You shouldn't be here. You can't." But the woman, with piercing green eyes, stepped forward, locking onto Emily. "You're stronger than this. You need to understand what they've hidden from you. The real legacy? Who are you?" Emily gasped, feeling like she was standing on the edge of a chasm. With a cold smile, the woman replied, "I'm the one who holds the real key to your past." Emily's heart was a wild drum in her chest. "What do you mean?" "Everything you've known, every secret, every lie, was just a cover for something far darker." The room held its breath, and Emily realized this moment was the storm she had been waiting for. Her life was poised to change forever. More than ever, everything felt like it was spiraling towards something monumental. But the path ahead was shrouded, veiled in shadows thick enough to choke on. What twisted truth would they unveil next? And what role did each of them play in this unfolding nightmare? Emily's heart thundered as she stared at the striking woman, the intensity of the moment stretching like a drawn bow. The aura surrounding this figure, the one who claimed to hold the real key, felt both ominous and electrifying, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. "What do you mean?" she breathed, feeling the walls closing in, pressing on her lungs. The shadows seemed to dance around the edges of her vision, teasing her with their mysteries. "I mean the truth about your family," the woman replied, her voice smooth but bluesy, almost sing-song. "The truth that's been buried under so many lies. Your life, Emily, was crafted from shadows." "Who are you?" Emily forced the words out, trying to steady the quiver in her voice. But deep down, she felt the answer teasing at the edges of her mind, slipping like sand through her fingers. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Your legacy," she said, glancing around the room, "is a twisted tale. You've all been players in this drama, stuck in your roles without knowing the script." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back, rattling the very foundations of their world. The door to the pantry flew open, too forcefully, the hinges creaking under the strain. Everyone turned, eyes wide with shock, jaws slack. Rebecca, eyes lighting up with savage joy, said, "Now that's interesting." Then, a blur sprang from the pantry, streaking past everyone in a whirlwind. It was a small figure, arms flailing, but all Emily could see were the familiar curls of dark hair. A child? No, she recognized that silhouette. Her breath hitched. Ben? Ben, her younger brother, was standing there, eyes wild, gasping for breath. "Mom! Emily!" His voice cracked, desperation leaking through his words. "You have to listen. Someone's coming." "What are you talking about?" Sarah shouted, her grief morphing into alarm. She rushed toward him, panic seizing her. "How did you get here?" "Daniel!" Ben shouted, pointing a trembling finger toward the back door. "He's outside. He brought friends." The name hung thick in the air. Emily felt a wave of despair crash over her. How could Daniel have found Ben? How did he know where they were? A shiver ran down her spine as the reality began to dawn on her. "Friends?" Rebecca asked, her tone lilting and mocking. "What friends?" In that split second, the thick tension snapped, as if a rubber band had broken. Suddenly, another crash from the back, followed by a string of voices, flooded the small kitchen. "Open up! We know you're in there!" It was a deep voice, commanding, booming with authority. "This is the police! We have a warrant!" "Police?" Shock darted through Emily like lightning. She turned to Sarah, who looked pale and terrified. "Mom, what did you do?" she whispered. feeling her entire world. "Stand back, all of you!" Daniel yelled suddenly, a knot of panic tightening his brows. He lunged for the window, but Emily rushed forward, blocking his escape. "What did you do? You were supposed to be gone!" "Get out of the way!" he shouted, eyes wild. Just then, the back door slammed open, and officers flooded in. Uniforms crisp, badges flashing. Chaos exploded in an instant. "Hands in the air! Everyone!" one officer commanded, voice cutting through the confusion. Sarah's face went ash white, and she dropped to her knees, shaking. "You can't," she sobbed. "You can't take my family." "Mom!" Emily cried, fear wrapping around her throat like a vice. As the officers grabbed Daniel, the realization hit hard like a sledgehammer. They were here for him, and for everything that had been buried. This was the truth unraveling fast, a raw wound being ripped open. "Remember your legacy, Emily," the woman's whisper echoed in her mind, a spine-chilling reminder of the darkness that loomed. Then, amid the chaos, the woman stepped back, eyes gleaming with a mix of wronged pride. "You'll see. You'll all see." And just like that, she vanished into the shadows, leaving nothing but chilling echoes behind. Emily's heart raced, their secrets slipping through fingers that felt numb. Time seemed to stall as panic swallowed the room. The truth was coming, and it was going to hurt, more than she could ever imagine. The room buzzed with chaos, the air thick with fear and confusion. Emily's mind spun as she tried to process everything. Her father, alive, but casting a shadow over their lives like a dark cloud. The police officers flooded in, demanding answers, pulling Daniel back toward the door as shouts and gasps echoed around them. "Stop! Don't hurt him!" Sarah screamed, the desperation in her voice cutting through the mayhem. The officers hesitated, glancing between Daniel and the distraught family, uncertainty written all over their faces. "Step aside, ma'am," an officer barked, raising his hands. "This is an active situation. We need to secure everyone." But nothing felt secure. Emily's heart raced, pounding so hard she thought it might break free from her chest. She scanned the crowded room. Ben trembled in the corner, wide-eyed, lost in a whirlwind of confusion. Jake moved closer, his expression a mix of worry and anger. "Can't you see it's all falling apart?" he muttered under his breath, frustration spilling out. Daniel sneered, his bravado cracking. "You think you can just come in here and take me away? You only know half the story." "Then tell us," Emily shouted, the words bursting out like a firework. "Tell us the truth." But even she could hear the tremor in her voice. What truth could he possibly have that would make this any better? Before he could respond, the woman from before reappeared, cutting through the crowd like a knife. "No," she yelled, voice rising with authority. "You're not walking away this time." The room quaked with tension, all eyes on her. "I know why he's here. I know what he took. You need to listen." The officers turned to her, a tag team, swinging between disbelief and intrigue. "Who are you?" one of them asked, brow furrowed, doubtful but intrigued. "Someone who holds the key to this family's nightmare." She took a breath, steadying herself, urgency flooding her words. "Daniel's not just a threat. He's a curse. And if you don't stop him now, he'll unravel everything." Emily felt the urge to ask more, but was silenced by the piercing gaze of the woman. In that moment, the world around her faded, leaving only her and the stranger, an unspoken connection, drawing them together like magnets. All this confusion, the pain, the fear, it's his doing. He fed off it, she insisted, locking eyes with Emily, her voice low and urgent. "You need the truth." "What truth?" Daniel yelled, sounding more desperate than defiant now. But before anyone could answer, the front door burst open again, slamming against the wall. A presence loomed just outside, casting a long shadow across the floor. Emily's breath caught. She couldn't believe who it was. "Honey," the figure called, stepping into the room. It was her mother, her other mother, the one she heard stories about but never knew. "I need you to trust me." "Mom?" Emily whispered, disbelief stinging her chest. "How?" "I had to come. Before." "It was too late," she said, voice trembling. "It's all connected, Emily. The truth isn't just about Daniel or the past. It's about you." With that, chaos erupted again, the room spinning as whispers ignited, everyone reeling from unexpected revelations, and Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. The woman's presence intensified, striking a nerve. "Emily, listen. You must break free from this cycle." "I don't know how," she cried, the weight of the world on her shoulders. The woman locked eyes with every person in the room, then pointed to Emily. "The missing piece is within you. They've kept the truth hidden. All of them. Not just your father or Daniel, but in this family, in your blood." Emily felt the walls close. In again, tightening like a vice. Everything she had known slipped away. "What do you mean? What do I have to do?" "The legacy is yours to change," the woman urged, her expression fierce. "But first, you need to uncover your own truth." Tears held at bay, threatened to spill. Every word echoed with chilling weight. The air grew thick with uncertainty, secrets waiting to be unleashed. What truth? Who were they really? And just when she thought things couldn't get more complicated, with one swift motion, her father lunged. The chaos cascaded like a tidal wave, sending Emily sprawling to the ground. The room erupted into muffled shouting as she felt her heartbeat thunder in her ears, drowning out the chaos. Then it happened, a blinding flash from the ring on the counter. Light exploded, enveloping them all in a searing blanket of white. She felt herself lift, suspended in nothingness, as an unexpected voice laced with sorrow cut through the silence. "You're the key, Emily. You've always been." And in that moment, she realized everything she thought she knew was about to change, and it terrified her. What truth awaited her beyond this blinding darkness? The blinding light engulfed Emily, washing away everything. It was warmth, it was safety, but it was also terrifying. She wanted to reach out, to grasp something real. Instead, she felt weightless, lost in a void. Then came the sound, a creak, like a door opening. It sliced through the silence and pulled her back. Suddenly, she was back in the kitchen, surrounded by the chaos. The lights flickered one last time before plunging them into a fatigued dimness. She blinked, taking in the frayed edges of her reality. The officers were frozen mid-action, eyes darting around like marbles rolling loose. Daniel was still there, but his face had morphed, confusion mixing with a new fear. "Emily!" Suddenly, he lunged toward her, desperation fueling his movements. "You need to listen to me. They're lying." Before she could respond, the woman stepped closer, her eyes blazing with intensity. "You don't understand. This is about more than just your family." Emily felt her breath catch. "What do you mean?" "Your mother, the truth of her." But before she could finish, a cold gust swept through the room, strong enough to rattle the dishes. The back door flew open again, and in burst a group of people, faces half hidden, dressed in dark clothing. The air thickened with dread as they fanned out like shadows. "Contain them!" one of them shouted. It was a voice that lacked warmth, stripped of humanity. Emily's heart thundered. She felt it pulse in her throat. "Who are they?" "Get down!" an officer yelled, pushing Sarah behind him. The room twisted with panic as the intruders advanced. moving like wolves on a hunt. "Run!" Jake shouted to Emily, gripping her arm tightly as he tried to shove her toward the other end of the room. But Emily felt rooted in place, paralyzed by confusion. Then it happened. Among the chaos, one of the intruders reached into their coat, pulling out something silver and sharp. A knife? Before she could scream, the intruder aimed it at Daniel. "This ends now. Stop!" Sarah's voice rose again, but it felt weak, lost in the storm of terror swelling around them. And then it all shattered. The knife pierced through Daniel's hand, and he howled. A monster. But now he was simply a man, suffering, scared, bleeding. "Look what you've done," one of the intruders hissed, shaking with adrenaline. "You've made this harder for yourself. The truth doesn't just die, it festers." "Truth?" Daniel gritted through the pain, but the fire in his eyes glimmered with something deeper. A rage, a fear, perhaps even a glimmer of regret. Then the ambiance shifted. Suddenly the woman stepped forward, the intensity in her eyes lighting up like raw fire. "This is what they want. Chaos!" She pointed fiercely at the intruders. "But you don't realize what you've unleashed." "What?" Emily's mind raced, trying to process it all. The woman's voice echoed, fierce and commanding. "You have to trust me to stop this. Emily, only you can break this cycle. Call forth the truth." Time slowed. Everything felt like a dream, blurred and shaky. The knife still glistened, Daniel's blood pooling at his feet. But something ignited in her. A feeling of power, desperation, and anger intertwined, the legacy of her family being ripped apart right before her eyes. "Emily!" Ben shouted, breaking her reverie. "What do we do?" But just as the chaos reached a fever pitch, the power flickered, and the lights went out once more. In that darkness, she could hear whispers, scratching, soft but haunting, crawling into her ears. Tell them the truth," the voices seemed to chant, mingling with Daniel's agony. It echoed inside her head, a pulsing call. To action. And then, in a heartbeat, something shifted. She took a deep breath, grounded herself, and lifted her chin, ready to confront everything she feared. But what if she wasn't just part of this family? What if all the shadows were whispering for her to take a stand, not just for herself, but to change everything? In that instant, amidst the swirling chaos and bloodied panic, she saw them. The ghosts of her past, each one holding a piece of her silent truth. "No more," she cried, her voice a sudden earthquake in the stillness. "I won't let you play with my family anymore." But the question echoed deeper than her words. What exactly would that stand cost her? As she felt the weight of every secret fall around her like bricks, Emily braced for the truth that would change everything she thought she knew. Emily felt the deep, thunderous pulse in her chest, her body vibrating with a mix of fear, power, and something like desperation. The room swirled around her, voices and shadows blending into a chaotic blur. She stood firm, trying to be strong, trying to hold on to the truth about her family. But then everything exploded. As the knife glinted menacingly in the dim light, Emily's mind raced. "No more!" she shouted, feeling the heat of anger surfacing. For so long they had wielded their secrets against her. Daniel, the intruders, even the whispers in the dark. No, she would not let them twist her life any longer. "Emily!" Ben shrieked, his hand reaching out toward her, panic coated in his eyes. But just as she was about to step forward, a loud crash echoed from the back door, a violent sound that ripped through the tension like a knife. Everyone turned, startled, and then a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. Emily squinted, heart racing, as a strong presence filled the room. The light flickered, and she caught a flash of silver hair, a bright, fierce smile cutting through the chaos. "Did someone say truth?" the newcomer laughed, stepping into the dim light. The laughter was familiar, yet it sliced through her heart. "Mom?" Emily's voice trembled, a mix of disbelief and hope thrumming beneath her skin. But it wasn't just any mom, it was her mother, her real mother, the one who vanished from her life. "Surprise!" her mom announced, arms flung wide, as if welcoming her back into a twisted family reunion. "Sorry I'm late." "Why are you here?" Sarah gasped, confusion splattering across her face. "You abandoned us." "Did I?" her mother snapped back, eyes glinting with mischief. "Or did you create the perfect little narrative? A narrative where you control the truth?" Emily's heart sank deeper into her chest. This was a betrayal beyond belief. The love she felt was quickly replaced by betrayal, questions swirling like a storm around her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you've been living in a story, your mother's story." She pointed a finger at Sarah, a fire igniting behind her eyes. "And it's not even close to the truth." Before Emily could piece together the whirlwind of her own thoughts, the kitchen lights flickered violently, plunging them into half-darkness. And suddenly, something changed. With an unexpected rush, Daniel lunged toward her mother, eyes wide with desperation, blood still dripping from his hand. "No, you can't let her take you!" But the moment felt surreal. In the flickering light, everything felt suspended in time, as if reality was bending. Emily stared at her mom, her heart pounding. The implications loomed large. Was her mother not just an innocent bystander, but part of the chaos? Then it hit her. The power of her mother's words, the weight of the betrayal. It all collided in her chest like a freight train smashing through walls. "What are you hiding?" she shouted, voice cracking. "What truth?" "Emily, listen." Her mother's voice softened, the anger fading into something deeper, almost sorrowful. "It was never just about family. You're more than a pawn in this game. You're the one who can set it free." But before there was time to breathe, the intruders shifted, roaring with chaos. Enough of this charade. One of them lunged forward, reaching for Emily with wild eyes. "You'll never escape the truth." "No!" Ben cried out, but it was too late. They grabbed her mother and pulled her back, her screams fading into the chaos. It was a heart-wrenching sound that twisted in Emily's gut, a sound she'd never forget. And just as everything seemed lost, a shimmering light encased her, wrapping around her like an embrace. "Emily!" the woman shouted again, urgency crawling beneath the sound of betrayal. "Remember, you are the key. You hold the truth." She felt everything shift in that instant. Her family, her life. The very story she thought she knew was unraveling at the seams. And then silence fell over the kitchen, thick enough to choke on. Emily closed her eyes, ready to embrace whatever this truth was. But deep inside, she feared it was something too horrific to bear. What would happen if she unraveled? The darkness? What price would she pay? And as the walls of her world tumbled around her, she found herself standing at the edge of an abyss, staring into a void that seemed to stretch on forever. What awaited her there? Would it be the truth that set her free, or a darkness that consumed her whole? The darkness enveloped Emily, heavy and biting, but there was a spark, the realization pulsing deep within her that could extinguish this nightmare. She could feel the shadows pressing in, but she wouldn't be swallowed. "Stop!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. Every ounce of fear morphed into defiance. We've been hiding in this cycle of pain for too long. Her mother's eyes widened, and Sarah's jaw dropped. The room held its breath as all eyes turned to her. Emily felt a surge of power swell in her chest. You have to face the truth, Daniel. Not just about your past, but about our future. Daniel faltered, glancing around, confusion twisting his features. Emily, what are you talking about? Suddenly, the woman stepped forward again, an unwavering beacon amidst the storm. He's been a puppet all along, but you hold the strings. The legacy isn't just his to dictate. It's yours to rewrite. Yes, Ben shouted, eyes bright with hope. You can change it all. You can free us. Time slowed as Emily stood at the edge of the abyss, staring into her past. Every locked closet, every painful memory melted away under the weight of her conviction. I'm not afraid anymore, she cried, her voice gaining strength. You might have ruled with secrets and lies, but no more. The air crackled with energy, sending shivers down her spine as she faced the intruders. You think you can take us? You think we're weak? She steeled herself, defiance threading her voice. This family is stronger than you can imagine. Without hesitation, she turned to her mother, the woman who had once taken her childhood away. You taught me that love is powerful, that truth can shatter even the darkest of corners. Do you really want to keep hiding? Her mom's eyes glistened with emotion, part fear, part acceptance. Emily, you don't know what you're asking. Do I? She challenged. Maybe it's time we find out. Then everything exploded. The light surged back to life, illuminating the shambles of their family. Daniel shrieked, gripping his hand where the blood leaked. But the gaze in Emily's eyes held him captive, and the intruders faltered, caught off guard. Let's bring the truth into the light, Emily said, summoning every ounce of courage. The echoes of countless secrets swelled, oiling over into the space, merging with her resolve. We're done being afraid. And just like that, everything began to unravel. The intruders faltered, confusion gleaming in their eyes as they exchanged uneasy glances. The weight of truths long buried surged forth. Leave now, the woman commanded, her voice a siren's call, or face the consequences of your darkness. The intruders hesitated, slowly backing away as if the air thickened with danger. Daniel stood, caught between worlds, old habits whispering lies, and new truths brimming with possibility. With one last glance, Emily locked eyes with him, determination sparking in her heart. You can choose to stay a part of this cycle, or you can finally step into the light. For a heartbeat, silence hung heavy before Daniel took a step back, surrendering his grip on their fate. As he turned and fled, the tension that hung over them lifted, and the air began to clear. The realization hit Emily like a soft wave. They had taken a tiny, pivotal step toward healing. The darkness wasn't gone, but the chains that bound them were shattering. As everyone breathed in the fragile sense of freedom, Emily turned to her family. We're no longer trapped by this legacy. We have a chance to be something else, together. Her mother moved forward, enveloping Emily in a raw embrace, tears spilling like a river between them. I'm so proud of you, she whispered, love pouring out like sunlight breaking through clouds. Around them, the remnants of the past crackled softly. Unhealed wounds still stung. Scars still remained. But the journey to mend began here, now, in truth. As they stood together, forming a fragile yet powerful bond, Emily looked ahead. Together, she confirmed, voice steady and unwavering. We face the truth. Together. The shadows, once oppressive, began to retreat, and for the first time, they felt the weight of the past lift. A new dawn breaking upon them. But let's not forget, this isn't just the end. This is the moment to share the journey with those who need it. If you want to be part of the transformation, You have to subscribe right now. Smash that like button, because this is the moment to show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Don't hold back, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Don't wait even one more second. Your voice matters, and we're just getting started.